welcome back. I'm Lady Heart, your resident glamour ghoul. So today I'd like to introduce you to someone really special who is putting on an incredible event for an amazing cause that is really close to my heart. Now today's special guest and I met about a billion years ago when I was managing a tattoo shop and he came in to get tattooed. He and I pretty much spent the whole day giggling and listening to metal together and have been a big fan of each other's work over the years ever since. He even let me rope him into one of my fashion shows a few years ago. Now, oh my God, he is just so freaking talented. I cannot even tell you. He is the guitarist for Sydney metal band Carmeria. He inspires students daily as a high school music teacher and year advisor. And he puts on an amazing annual festival called Scream It Out, which is a metal music festival, all ages, to raise funds for youth mental health. So really, really important and amazing work that he does. Without much further ado, I would love to introduce you to the fabulous Jez!
Oh, it's so nice to catch up with you again. It's been too long.
I have not seen you in forever.
And the last time was your model, where I modeled some of your clothes, actually.
Yes, you did. I'm sharing pictures as we speak of how handsome you were. Oh my God. Okay. I am so excited to talk about Scream It Out. So first of all, just introduce yourself a little bit and tell me where the idea for the festival came from and where it all begun.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so my name's Jerry. I like to say musician first. Even when my kids ask me, I actually had this student ask me the other day, it's like, so when you're filling out a job app, when you're filling out like a survey for the government or whatever, what do you put as your occupation, musician or teacher? And I always like to think of a musician first, teacher second. I don't know why. It always feels like natural. Sometimes I even not say inappropriate things in class, but I'm very immature in class. I'm like, how the hell am I a teacher? Anyway, there's a long answer to what you said. But anyway, I'm a musician, high school teacher, and lucky enough to be a year advisor as well. So in charge of student welfare for this year's year 11s at my school. So I've seen them grow since year 8. And what Scream It Out is a charity music festival to raise money for this year Headspace and hopefully future years moving forward, raising money for Headspace and targeting the intention behind the festival is to destigmatize mental health conversations and empower young people. And how it started was I was doing a self-development course through the organization called Landmark. If anyone has ever heard of the Landmark courses, I had a family friend who then worked for them. So she was a, what would you call her role? I guess a coach. Like she led forums there. And I did some of the courses there. And when you progress through their self-development curriculum, the final course that you do involves you, it runs over 6 months, I think, give or take. And it involves you implementing a project into the community. Oh my goodness, I forget what the course was called, but it's supposed to get you to really look inside yourself, find out what your passions are, what makes you uncomfortable. I guess it's the same thing because that's how you get outside your comfort zone. Yeah. Self-expression, and basically this project that you implement into the community was meant to be equally something you're passionate about, but equally an expression of yourself.
Oh,
if that makes sense. So I thought, well, I love music and I love student welfare. How can I blend those two together? So that's when I was like, why don't I put on, and I've always loved for my kids to see me perform, if I can be selfish in that regard, I want to show them what I do. Absolutely. So then I thought, why don't I throw an all ages music festival? So the idea is that I want my students to see what I do. And then it's to raise money for, a mental health organization. And the first year, the loose concept was basically a theme in self-expression, because I guess where I also stemmed the idea from was how growing up, being a queer kid as well in high school, and obviously dressing very different, very emo in high school. Guess I still am, but very emo in high school. So
Oh,
dressing
you were different in high
I
school?
was different in high school. I know, shock horror, right? But growing up,
I never would have guessed it.
oh yeah, yeah. So growing up, dressing a little bit differently, and obviously, liking, I guess, not women, so I felt a bit different. I guess I wanted to explore that theme. So how can I empower young people through self-expression? And especially at the school that I work at, I noticed that there are a lot of hindrances to self-expression with young people, whether it be like, friends, cultural expectations, all of the sort. So that's why I wanted to be like, here's a music festival. Yes, I want my band to play because look at this man that gets up in like goth makeup and performs. Like I want you to see that it's okay to do those kinds of things.
Hell yeah.
That's a very long answer of what you just asked, but that's basically it.
That
So
was everything I could have ever wanted to answer and more. I do want to ask actually, how do you find the kids do react to you? Because to me, you're doing saints work to me. And yeah, being different and being the change that you want to see, how has it been sort of stepping into that role model kind of role?
I guess I still need to pinch myself when I have those moments of, oh crap, I am a role model. But it's very rewarding. So it's like, I guess, like I just think I forget about it. I think like I don't know, when I've got my music teacher hat on, it feels like a very music teacher hat. So even just today when I had, taught year 7 and 8, like it feels like I've got the teacher hat on. But when it comes to year advisor, I guess duties and jobs, or when I'm catching up with my kids at school, or even just kids outside the grade, even the kids that fortunately resonate with me to vent about things. And I mean this in the most professional way I can. I feel like that hat just drops from my head and I can be a lot more myself with those kids. And again, I say that, as professionally as I can, because obviously there are things I can and can't say or can and can't do when, dealing with student welfare.
Absolutely.
Forget what I was going with this. Oh, and I just forget about it because sometimes it just feels like I'm hanging out with very young friends, if I dare I say that, because at the end of the day, I just remember that they are young people and still human after all. And sometimes I feel that's the really negative thing about teaching as well, because sometimes you want to give them extra advice, but I guess the legalities around teaching forbids you to do that. But it's also there to protect us as well. But like to give you an example of like that moment where I was like, oh crap, I am a role model. Like there's this one girl, and just for the sake of this interview, I won't mention her name, but if she ever watches this, she'll know who she is when I explain this situation. She's actually a member of the Screaming Out student committee this year, which is really awesome. So this year I formed like a little student committee to help me like raise ideas and vote on the poster design and stuff. So it's good. Like I'm involving young people more. But this particular girl, who's also in my grade, like the grade they year advise, she gifted me with a Christmas card like last year, and she's the only kid that did in the grade. I thought, oh, that's nice. Like some kids do that for their teachers, and then I got it. And she was just looking at me in the staff room, like, do I open this now? Like, am I going to cry? She's like, oh, you can open it now. And then, like, I read it and it said something really fucking sweet, like along the lines of, something like, I wish I could be as confident as you to express myself one day. And I was like, please leave, because I definitely teared up when she left. So it's just moments like that I'm like, oh yeah, I'm probably like inspiring some people. So, but I feel like I'm just being myself at school. Like honestly, doesn't feel like I'm that role model until I have those moments where it's like, oh yeah, shit, I got to be mature and professional sometimes. So, but yeah, so it's like I guess I forget that I am, but it's those moments that make it worth it, that reset my thinking about it, and yeah, I don't
Absolutely. And I
know.
think like if you can reach that one person or reach that one student, like your job is done. If it's affected their way in a positive manner, your job's done. It doesn't matter if it's an audience of one or an audience of 10,000. I always think if you can just get one person, then hopefully you can make the world a little bit better. looping back to before being like young alternative people as we were, I know like back in my day, mental illness wasn't talked about as openly as it is now. So it's fantastic that more people are having those conversations about it, especially young people, because I found, you know, I didn't have anyone really to speak to, and it probably doesn't really help in the long run if you don't feel like you've got that support or even just someone you can relate to. So have you found that the young people are able to express how their mental health is going a lot easier because of this? Or do you find it still kind of a little bit stalled, like they want to get it out, but sometimes the words aren't quite there?
Hmm. I think, and again, like I reflect on when we were in high school, I think the younger generations are growing into a world where it's like, yes, it's okay to talk about your feelings,
Yeah.
but then it's the trick of what language do I use to express myself. So
Ah,
it's like the intention is there where it's like, okay, I am, and again, I'm just going off what I notice at my school. I feel like the kids are smart enough to pick up, okay, something's not right here. I want to talk to someone. So that's good. And I can talk to someone. Whereas back in our day, maybe it was like we don't have anyone to talk to. We have to bottle it up, or we don't really have access to people that will listen. You know,
yes.
dare I say that? Whereas nowadays, it's like they know there are plenty of avenues, and that's great. But it's still, what do I say?
Yeah. It's interesting as
I
well
think
because back when I was in high school, I can count the number of alternative people on one hand. I believe there was four of us over my entire course of high school. So you really got the blunt end of the stick being teased and
yeah.
everything that comes along with that. I don't want to get all saddy sad about that, but because I found such a special escape from for me as a teenager was listening to music and the all the bands that I discovered and fell in love with over that time. So, of course, I'm going to make you reveal to me what were your favorite bands in high school.
I think okay, so I have to take you on the journey here. So growing up, my dad always got me into like the classic rock stuff. So like, you know, Deep Purple, Rolling Stones, like the Rolling Stones are the reason I picked up music.
Oh,
So
wow.
already then I felt like I was a little bit different because like uh going to school and everyone's listening to like the top 40 on the radio, and here I am still playing like old people music like Beatles and Rolling Stones and all that stuff. So there already I was like, oh, I don't fit in here. Um, but then I got into, I guess, and don't ask me how. I don't remember how this happened, but I remember I really was obsessed with Green Day at one point.
Oh,
So
yes.
that was my like awakening into like punky music because I think friends were listening to it, so they were showing me, and I was like, oh, it's not too far from the rock stuff that I play now. It's just a little bit different, you know. And then, so that was my emo phase. Oh, well, that was my like punky phase because I had like long hair and stuff still in high school. And then I discovered the used.
Oh.
The used were like my emo awakening. A lot of people was like MCR and all that, but the used were my emo awakening. And then I found like, you know, Fall Out Boy, sorry, not Fall Out Boy, Panic at the Disco, My Chemical Romance, all those bands
Panic is
around.
my guilty emo pleasure, so I feel you
Yeah.
there.
The used were mine. I was obsessed with the In Love and Death album. That was like obsessed with that album. Um, and then after I had that phase, and you know, I was still listening to it, I discovered by accident online because I was watching. You know how you find those fan-made horror movie trailers,
Yes.
and I can't remember what movie it was. 13 Ghosts.
Oh, that is a
That,
good
that
film,
movie.
actually. I enjoy
Love
that
that
one.
movie. I found a fan-made trailer, and it happened to have a Cradle of Filth song on it. And I was like, the fuck is this music playing? Because I was like, what? There is music out there that sounds like this. And yeah. So then Cradle of Filth were like my metal awakening. At the same time, I just
Danny Filth written all over
yeah,
you.
yeah. So then for a larger chunk of my high school life, I was obsessed with Cradle of Filth and wanted to look like Danny Filth and all that stuff, which
You
is
nailed
embarrassing.
it.
Um, but around the same time, I had changed guitar teachers. So I went from like this lovely British gentleman who was teaching me like, Stones, classic rock, all that stuff, to this more like a progressive metal dude. So that was at the same time that I was listening to all those European metal bands like Nightwish, Evergrey, all that stuff. So I was like getting my goth metal out and all the black metal, like listening to it. But then guitar wise, I was doing all the speed power metal stuff. So that was kind of like a good timing as well, because I was just exposed to like all those, I guess, those metal subgenres like symphonic metal, power metal, and all that stuff. And then I guess here I am now after all that. So, but again, it's still going back to the whole thing of like, there was like hardly anyone else, maybe like one or two people in the entire school that even knew who Cradle of Filth were. So I still felt like outcast is a strong word, but I still feel like I had that uniqueness to me, I suppose, because no one else was listening to that music, or I couldn't relate to other people who was listening to pop.
Oh, absolutely. And for me, it wasn't actually until I was like a bit older that I actually did meet other people who were into the same music I was. And so discovering that later with people was finally a blessing, because it's like, oh, I can finally talk about all these bands that I love that I haven't been able to talk about in years. And finally, I've met my other people. So I think as well, like the internet had such a big hand in just opening us up to, other alternative people. And I was going to
Uh,
tell you my favorite bands.
yes.
All right, all right, all right. You ready for this? Okay, so unfortunately, you start with the gateway drug, which is unfortunately Marilyn Manson now, but
Oh.
not going into that one. But actually, from that, I discovered all these wonderful female metal bands like My Ruin and Jack Off Jill, because they were all friends together, sort of in the same spooky kids kind of club. And from there, I sort of, I think I just got angrier. So Pantera came along. Cold Chamber was a big one for me. Oh, they had such like just iconic looks as well. Like, I swear, like metal in the late 90s, early 2000s, the looks were just iconic. Like, and at
Mm,
the time it was very progressive, because we hadn't seen anything like that yet. And
mm.
yeah, so we're lucky now. We see it all the time, like it's quite popular to have colored hair now, when back in our day it was like, oh shit, it looks awesome, but about to get fucking teased for this. So
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. Like colored hair would like turn people's heads, whereas nowadays it's just like, oh yeah, person with colored hair. Like,
there's like pros and cons to it as well, because like you get less stared at now, which is always a blessing when you just want to walk around minding your business. But yeah, back in the day, not so much fun. Which is
yeah.
why I think that, scream it out is absolutely so important, because as we've been discussing, we sort of didn't have those role models growing up, and you becoming that is just so awesome and so special. And now Scream It Out is going to be on April 22nd. What time does it start?
Music starts from 5, but gates will open to the school grounds at 3 p.m. So you can still go get on site, grab food, and there'll be stuff to do outside. So the area is convenient. Like the hall is conveniently situated right across from our outdoor undercover area. So that's where like the food will be set up in the activity. So you can hang around there whilst the bands are doing finishing sound check inside. But 5 p.m. the hall doors will open for the I suppose the main events. So
amazing. And I am going to be there. I'm going to be darting around in the background, filming what I can, and hopefully grabbing a few students and asking them a few questions if that's cool with you.
That'd be super fun. I'm sure like some of the kids from my student community would love to, and even just random attendees. And it'll be good that you're going because based on what you said, just going off what you said before about how we didn't have those, I guess a lot of those alternative role models growing up, or I guess we weren't exposed to that. Like I remember last year, I had some very adult emo friends turn up. So like just some friends I met out clubbing or whatever, and they turned up to scream it out. And I remember some students like the next week, or maybe it may have been like the night of, a student pulled me aside. I was like, "Oh, are all of them like your friends?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course," because you could tell like there's girls with blue hair and all this stuff, and they were like, it just I'm paraphrasing this, but I remember the student saying something to me like, "Oh, like I could have dressed like that tonight. I didn't know that like I could have." So it was nice to have like, I guess my adult alternative friends turn up so that if there are young people there that just want to dress a little bit weird for one night, like that is the space to do it with no judgment. And
absolutely, you heard it, guys. We're getting dolled up. We're going to scream it out, and we are going to have the best time.
Oh yeah, and I had like 1 year. Oh God bless her. She's in year 8. She's in one of my classes now. She bought like again, won't mention the name, but she bought a ticket recently, and she asked me like outside the class, "Oh, what do I wear?" And I just explained what that story. I'm like, "You wear whatever you want. That's appropriate, obviously. But if you want to turn up in like heavy goth boots and a corset, like girl, you rock it. Like I don't care what you wear because it's going to be the safest space for you."
Absolutely. Wear whatever makes your soul sing, because at the end of the day, life is short. We might as well have some fun and be the people that we want to be. So yeah, I absolutely cannot wait to see you in person in a few weeks' time, and I'm going to come and bother the hell out of you. So I hope you're ready.
And if I look like a frantic headless chicken, because I will be, because I'd be running around with so many things to do. But yeah.
I love it. Alrighty, I am going to put all the details for Scream It Out in the description below. So grab your tickets. We're pointing down. Grab your tickets. It is next week at the time I am posting this. So grab your tickets now. We will see you there. And don't forget to get dolled up, and we're going to have the best time. Thank you so much for joining me, Jez.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. It was fun.
I'll see you in a few weeks.
You shall. Love you. See you then.
Love you. Bye. Da 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 da.